One of the things that I'm known for now in business and with my age is like, when people come, they're like, man, Nick knows everybody. I'm like, well, that's because everybody knew me because everybody knew Pop. Like it just is kind of a thing, everybody knew who Mickey was. And I got to tell you, and it's something as a father I'm working on, man, like you cast a large shadow. It was a large shadow, and and that shadow was never thrown on me. It was too large not to recognize. And it took me a long time to really come into my own as Nick Hyder, and not, I made it through being Mickey's son got me through most of my life. But it got me so far until it's like, all right, well now I got to come into my own and be myself, be my own person. And there, as a father, it's one of those things that's like, you see that with a lot of people that have really successful parents.
Well, I'm just glad you did upgrades.
Upgrade.
My radio show was not all that stellar, but the Hitstreak is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I'm still haven't done it. How many episodes did you do of your radio show? It was 200 something. I hadn't caught him yet in episode numbers yet.
It was 4.5 years once a week. So whatever that is.
It's almost 300 episodes. So this is like, as we're recording this today, this is like probably like episode 180 something, because 175 literally came out today as we're recording this today. So yeah, I mean, it was really impressive. A lot of the stuff that I do is stuff that I watched you do. So it's just weird how things just keep happening. But to your point, every generation should get better because you have the knowledge of the previous one.
Exactly. And
Ethan better be better than me.
Yeah. Well, let's hope, and I had no clue what I was doing doing that radio show. It was totally by the seat of my pants. Mm-hmm. Rocky Hendrickson, who was the owner and manager of Hallmark, Jeep Eagle, Volkswagen, Hyundai, and all these dealerships, I was giving lessons to his kid, and he was asking me questions, and I was doing my best to answer them. He said, there needs to be a place that parents can go ask a question. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, make a great radio show. And he comes back the next week and say, next week we start the radio show. And I said, that's great, man. Who's going to host it? And he said, you. And that's how it got started. And I said, oh gosh, I don't know anything about this. He said, you'll be great at it.
Yep.
And so all I would do is just get somebody smart on the radio show that I could ask questions to.
That's a pretty good formula. I've been doing that too.
Because you don't have to know squat if you got somebody that's smart on there.
That is fact.
I can ask questions even though I couldn't answer any of them. But anyway, and I started off on a month trial, both of us mutually agreeing that we could fire me after a month.
If you're in Nashville listening with us today, it was on 104.5 The Zone. Is that what? Yeah, I mean, it was on a real station.
Oh, yeah, that was Saturday morning on The Zone. Yeah. I mean, it's still one of the top stations.
It was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning on The Zone. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I'd prepare 25 questions that I thought parents would want to ask. And then at the end of the show, people could call in and literally ask a question or two.
Fun story, Jensen. Me and my friends used to call in and mess with them because they was our live calls.
Yeah, and it wasn't no going back.
Yeah, so
no overdubs here. No,
they didn't have the 10-second delay.
No.
That's fact. By then I was in college, and that was when I got into all my shenanigan and troubles and stuff. So yeah, the stuff that we called in was pretty hard. I'm surprised that they kept the show going from the stuff that we called from. But
I mentioned two things. I mentioned, road, what's the word I'm looking for? Stepping stones, mm-hmm. plateaus, whatever, the things that I had to accomplish to feel like that I was semi-successful. Mm-hmm. And that was playing, hear my song on the Tonight Show and getting a free ticket to the CMA Awards. But the third thing was my favorite all-time singer is and was B.J. Thomas. Mm. And I mentioned Ken Dugan, my college baseball coach, who liked to hang out at my office because he's a closet fan.
The legend Ken Dugan.
The legend Ken Dugan
Hall of
wrote
Famer.
books and won 3,000 games or whatever it is. But anyway, we had this bright idea, or Ken actually had the idea to do a baseball album, an album of all baseball songs. And I found this one song that was great. It was called The Show, and people could probably find that online somewhere now. But it was just a great song. But I thought, I've got to have somebody great to sing this. And I kept hearing in my mind, B.J. Thomas would kill this. Well, come to find out after some digging, B.J. Thomas was a baseball fan. And I thought, well, what I got to lose? So I finally, somehow through his management, got his address, sent him this cassette of this song, The Show, told him what I was doing in the little note that we stuck in there, and asked him would he possibly even consider doing it. And I get a call, and it's B.J. Thomas. And I'm freaking out because it's B.J. Thomas.
Yeah, man.
And he's already had Raindrops Falling on My Head and then Hooked on a Feeling and all these
massive hits.
Massive,
Decades.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking across different genres. And he said, man, that song, The Show, is a killer. And I said, yeah, and you would kill it if you sang it. He said, what are you doing? And I told him, and he said, yeah, I'd love doing that. I love the song. I love baseball. So B.J. Thomas comes to town, and Mickey gets to produce B.J. Thomas, which was another one of those little plateaus where, well, I did something right, or I wouldn't have been in the studio with B.J. Thomas. And one quick anecdote to that, to show you what a perfectionist and what a genuine person he was. He gets through singing it. We gave him a rough copy so he can listen to it when he gets home. He gets home and calls me and says, Mickey, it's BJ. And I, yeah, man. He said, I can do it better. I said, BJ, you killed it. I love it. There's no problem. He said, I tell you, I can do it better. And I said, okay, I'll get the studio time, but you got to get yourself here. He said, you just let me know when to be there and I'll work it out when I'll get there. So sure enough, I get the studio for sometime the next week or whatever. He comes in and he actually did it better. And I didn't think that was possible. I really didn't.
Wow.
But he just had so much more emotion.
Right.
I mean, he didn't sing any bad notes. He didn't screw up the first time, which is as good as what we heard the demo of.
Yeah.
I mean, he got it all right. So what's the problem?
Yep.
But when he came back in, he just sold it. I mean, it tells a story about a guy who's trying to get to the big leagues. He finally makes it, but as a coach,
right,
rather than a player. And you just after you've listened to the song, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Funny anecdotal story about that. Somewhere along the line, a mutual friend who you used to know, he's not with us anymore, but Farrell Owens was listening to that song. He said, that's funny, but that's who am I blanking?
Showalter.
Buck Showalter. He said that's his life story. He never made it to the big leagues as a player, made it as the manager to the Yankees.
Yeah.
And I said, that is funny. It is just his life story, literally. So I box up after we've already done all these songs, I box it up and put a CD on a package, sent it randomly. Buck Showalter, Yankee Stadium, New York, New York. And in the note, I said, Buck Showalter, here's your life story in a song. And that's all I put. Well, I get a call on my receptionist says, Buck Showalter on line 1. And I'm thinking it's one of my buddies punking me because he's the manager of the Yankees. He didn't call me. So me being silly as I am, I pick up the phone and go, hey, Buck, baby, what's happening? And he said, well, it's about this CD you sent me. And I went, oh, crap. it is Buck Showalter. Now I'm freaked out.
Yeah.
And I said, oh man, yeah. And I had to gather myself because I was convinced that was just one of my buddies punking me. But
well, check it out. So, Dad, believe it or not, we've been rocking this for an hour and a half. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? So, what I want to do is, as we bring this sucker to close, is there any other story that stands out? Because again, when I say that we could sit down for a couple of days without stopping, that might still not be even do it, because I'm telling you, the stories from being on the road, they go on, and I've heard them all, and they're great. I want to make sure that my son and daughter and everybody gets them all too. And this is one of the ways that we'll do it. You guys did some crazy stuff with you haven't mentioned Charlie Chase very much today, but my whole teenage years were spent on set at Music City Tonight on TNN.
Oh, Charlie helped us with so many artists.
I mean, it was unbelievable. And then you produced his album.
Absolutely, and Charlie didn't even know he could sing. I mean,
I think pretty good.
He sings great.
Yeah, it's a beat. It's a bass.
I know it's just a very baritone bass type voice, but when you hear it in context, the songs that we pick for him, or he helped pick for himself, it's totally viable. Yeah. And it's got Garth Brooks, Doug Stone, and Western Flyer, and everybody else on it with him. Mm-hmm. And very quickly, I know we're running over here, but we punked Charlie.
That was where I was going. All right, get your popcorn ready.
Well, he had a show called Funny Business where he would convince Randy Travis some alley was going to be named Randy Travis Boulevard and all these crazy things.
I remember when he had they stole one of George Jones' cattle and then sold it back to him.
Exactly. He's looking at his own cow and thinking, "How did you get that?"
Yeah, he said, "That looks familiar, man. That's our cow over there."
But because Charlie was a little bit out of his element, singing was not his forte.
He wasn't comfortable.
He wasn't comfortable, but he was doing great. So when we had the Oak Ridge Boys to come in to sing "Thank God for Kids," which is one of their cornerstone hits, I got with the producer of Funny Business, said, "We need to get Charlie." And she said, "Oh, everybody's tried. You'll never get him." I said, "No, but he's out of his element a little bit here. He's not going to be on guard." And because we've got media all over the place all the time anyway, there's wires, microphones, everything else. He's not even going to suspect anything is going on because we're in a studio, for Pete's sake.
Mm-hmm. So y'all are in the studio recording the album. And it's Charlie's already done his thing, and now the Oak Ridge Boys are coming in to sing background on their own song. So I convinced Steve, who basically sings lead, to never quite phrase with Charlie. Always be just a little bit off. Mm-hmm. So it looks like maybe Charlie's the one off. And so Charlie's sitting in the back of the room as the Oak Ridge Boys are singing their big hit. And these guys and the Oak Ridge Boys are country music royalty.
Oh yeah, they're royalty at the time. I mean, they're huge. And suddenly things aren't just quite working out. It's not matching. And of course, Steve and I had planned this ahead of time. And I said, don't make it ridiculous, but just kind of be just a little off all the time. And I'll just keep insinuating it. You're not quite doing what Charlie's doing. But that's like teaching Elvis how to sing Hound Dog.
Right.
I mean, it's like that so stupid in the first place. But anyway, Charlie's sitting in the back, way back at the back of the studio in the little control room. And the next thing I know, he's pulled his chair up behind Kent and I. And next thing you know, he's like leaning over his shoulder and like sweat started to come down. And he's going, Did I screw up? Have I screwed this up? And I kept saying, don't worry about it. We're figuring this out. We get it. We'll get it. And so it keeps going on and on and on. And Charlie's like, he's having a fit. So I think we've let him suffer long enough. And I said, "Hey, Steve, what about that idea that I told you about before we ever started?" And he said, "Oh, you mean about how we're going to sing this in a little funny business," which is the name of Charlie's show. And Charlie turned around, and I'm not going to repeat what he said because they had to bleep it, and you'll have to bleep it too.
Yeah.
But we got Charlie, and then he had to go on his own show and show his own punkin'.
Yeah.
Where he got had. on his own show, Funny Business, which is hilarious.
I remember when it was on TV, I saw the footage, and like you guys literally had Charlie go into the voice box, the voice room, and he was teaching Steve how to sing his own song.
That's what the hysterical part, because you go teach the Oak Ridge boys how to sing. Oh, yeah. Thank God for kids.
Oh yeah, man.
It was hysterical. It really was. And thank goodness that the console was about a foot high in front of us, because Kent and I had little fader marks on our foreheads from hiding our faces down behind the monitors.
Yeah.
Because we're laughing so hard and having to get it together to sit back up so we could continue getting him. But we got him good.
Well, Dad, this was a great idea, and something that like I cherish I can't wait to go back and watch and listen to this, but I'm gonna cherish this footage forever. This was exactly what I wanted it to be today. This was a lot of fun. This was really cool. And again, for my whole childhood, you were known as, it was funny because you did baseball back then. You were my coach. You were running the local leagues and doing all those things, but you were known as the music guy.
Yeah.
And then from 2000 on, you became known as the baseball guy. And a lot of folks, it might be lost on them that you did the music the way that you did it, and you did it at such a high level. And the stories and seeing how much Nashville has changed along with the music industry alike, I just thought this would be a great way. You know, our audience here at the Hitstreak is incredible, and it's hard to believe how many people it reaches and stuff. But this is an inside look at Music City before it was what it is today, which is really cool. And anytime I get to hang out with Dad, that's a good time as well. And but I gotta say, it's just, I text you on the regular every so often. I'll say I did something today, and I watched you do something for the first time, and I watched you do something similar when I was a kid, like doing the stuff for Sirius XM and all those other things, or hosting an award show or something. I have footage of you hosting stuff at Opryland, as the MC and all those things. And you do that. How many years have you been the MC for the Old Timers Banquet here in Nashville?
I've lost. It's 30 something. I don't remember. It's been so long. I can't remember the first time I did it.
So I mean, at the end of I get credit for a lot of things, guys. All I've really done, and my parents were amazing, and all the way our family dynamic has changed and shaped over the years between Rhiannon's and mine. I'm just surrounded by greatness and amazing people. And I call you almost daily, usually with hey, I got a father question. I need some advice. I need this. I need that. It happens daily, Jensen. I call Dad. I'm like, all right, Ethan did this, and rather than kill him, I need a second voice here. You know what I mean? I need a different approach. So when I think Dad, I think we've been recently thinking about all the ways that everybody shaped my life, and I get a lot of my grit and my toughness, but I also think my innovation from you, because you were always doing stuff first or that hadn't been done before. And
well, I know. Here's the upgrade, though. You don't think outside the box. You don't know there's a box.
That's right.
And so that's the difference between you and me. I thought outside the box. You don't know there's a box.
That's right.
So the 2.0 works better than 1.0.
No doubt. But I was telling the story. People are just my son Ethan and I work out. We show that we're working out a lot of times every day through stories on social. The gym that we worked out in as a kid growing up, you almost needed a tetanus shot to leave, and there was no HVAC, there was no heating or cooling, and the way that, whether it was we couldn't afford to put an HVAC system in there or not, the way it was justified is well, it's not going to be air conditioned when you're playing, man, and you're here to train, so train in the elements you play in.
Yep.
It sucks working out in our garage with not good equipment and that's all on purpose, because that toughness, man, it's like, I don't know, when I'm there, I can do anything when I'm in that room.
That's good. That's good.
Well, it's again, it's not often that I get to hang out with my heroes, and I got to do that today.
Thanks for the compliment, but like I said, you're doing just fine. You just keep doing Nick 2.0, and we're good.